We have a lot of attention turning to Pete Hegseth in the Pentagon today, summoning hundreds of generals and admirals for this urgent meeting. Of course, they're not saying what it's for, but we have a senior Pentagon correspondent saying they've never seen nothing like this in the past 30 years. This points to going to big war. Everyone should prepare. They're about to do something massive. It's rather obvious at this point, everything that they've done surrounding Venezuela. And you've got to remember that Rubio just came out and admitted yesterday that regime change is the goal in Venezuela. They did all the staging, acting like they were going to go after narco-terrorists and this and that. Now, the cat's out the bag, and we kind of knew this already. They're going after Maduro. They're also going to be striking cartels from Venezuela all the way up through Mexico, up to our southern border. This is why on day one of Trump's presidency, he declared a national emergency. It was over the cartels and all these gangs that are running around out there. And people couldn't understand why at first. Well, it's because they knew that whenever they got to this point, it was going to be absolutely huge. So they made sure on day one, they put us into emergency mode. Here we are months and months and months later, people still asking why. Well, I think we're about to see why. We just had military jets scrambled off the coast of Alaska to intercept Russian jets as well. These things all happening in the same window. Of course, tension rising around Ukraine. Trump calling out Putin and flip-flopping on the whole thing, going the opposite way and saying that he believes everyone should be able to shoot down Russian jets if they're in their airspace. After he says that, they come into ours. Or really close to it nonetheless. This is something to watch big time. I'm going to tell you guys, prepare for a war to break out and to break loose. That comes right up to our doorstep. It looks like all the signals are there. I'll update on X as I get more information. Make sure to follow me there. Join me for the live stream.
This is Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmets. Alright, first and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and sincerity. And to you ribs, to you sisters out there learning in silence and staying in order, I say to you all, Shalom. And we already know, man, it's been getting spicy for the last, 5 years, man. And we're coming to that tail end of the war cries, man. Like, there's a lot of little scrimmages and wars that's going on right now that the media, right, the average Joe walking down to McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts getting himself a coffee is not even realizing. Everybody's going about their day not noticing what's going on in the world, man. Right, you really gotta watch, man. Like Yahushua said right before he got, before he got locked up, he said, watch and pray, man. Right, and Ezekiel 38 and 4 is talking about Russia, right? That he's gonna bring him back to his old state, right? To bring him forth the third woe, also known as World War III, right? And its company of men, right? The BRICS. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, and I believe Somalia. Slovakia, man. Basically East Africa. right? India is Persia, right? Ethiopia is in East Africa. Iran and Libya right? Those are the Arabs, Ishmaelites. Persia is the Ishmaelites. Edomites. Persia's the Edomites. Slovakia. Right? They're all going to come together under the banner, under the umbrella of Russia. Right? Verse 6, Gomer and all his bands, right? Gomer is the area where Russia is. Right? It's not the tribe of Gomer, but it's the landmass. It says Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters. Right? When you break up the map on 4 quarters, right? You got the left north, the right north, the south right, and the left right. Right? If you bring the map up. Right? It's obviously not talking about the left top. It's talking about Russia. See, be thou prepared, Salakia, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, right? And all his bands, and many people with thee, right? Because everybody's turning against Babylon. It says, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee. Right? Because Turkey's going to join the BRICS as well, and that's prophecy. Right? Because right now Turkey is a NATO ally. And be thou a guard unto them. Right? Because Russia's got the most bombs. Right? They got the most. They got the most firepower compared to Babylon. Right? But even Babylon's allies, pertaining to Obadiah 1, are going to turn on him. Right, and there's this guy called Albert Pike. I always bring this up if you haven't seen me speak about it yet. This guy was around back in before World War One, 1800s, and he was decorated. He's a Mason, a 33-degree Mason who has a statue in D.C. So he's somebody to these people, right? And according to his writings, his books, he predetermined, let's use that word, I know for lack of words, but what the world wars were going to be before they even came out. Now, whether he wrote them or not, this book was written way before the wars, right? But it was attributed to him in a book called Morals and Dogma. See, this is Albert Pike, and this is phoenixmasonry.org. Right, Confederate General Albert Pike, right? So he was part of the South, but he went to school in Harvard, right, which is the North, right? Why is this man a general in the South, man? He's somebody. Just thought that was weird, right? It says Albert Pike, 33rd degree Confederate general and leader of the Scottish Rite. says, at the beginning of the Civil War, he was appointed as Confederate envoy to the Indians and negotiated several treaties, right, which we already know they all broke. Basically, a treaty is like a snake move, making somebody agree to a term, and then you just void the contract and end up killing them. That's exactly what happened. Including the treaty with the Cherokee chief John Ross in 1861. He was given command of the Indian Territory in 1861 and trained 3 Confederate regiments of Indian cavalry. They were victorious at Pea Ridge in March. Albert Pike resigned from Confederate Army on July 12th and returned to his home in Arkansas. He was a Freemason, Western Star Lodge No. 2, Little Rock, Arkansas, and a character member of the Magnolia Lodge No. 60, Little Rock. He died in 1891 in Washington, D.C. Right? So this is before the First War. Alright, this is the letter from Albert Pike, letter to Mazzini. It says the Illuminati plan for 3 wars, August 15, 1871. The following is a letter that speculation cleared that Albert Pike wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871. Let's get straight to it. It says the First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsar in Russia and making the country a fortress of a atheistic communism. Right? That's exactly what happened. This is written before it even actually happened. The divergence caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions, Salakia. Right, so that happened exactly according to plan. So you might say, hey man, maybe it's a lie, maybe it was written after World War I or after World War II. I mean, you could say that, but when we get to the Third War, it hasn't happened yet. You're gonna see. It says the Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel and Palestine. That's exactly what happened in 1948, the Balfour Declaration. It says during the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social catalysm. And this is where we are right now, right? Christianity was used, right, to spread their institutions, and then they're gonna dismember Christianity itself, right? This is the Third World War, right? Hasn't happened yet. Must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Aramaic world, and the political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. We see that going on right now in the Middle East. Why is this tying into Moderna and, the cartels? It's because Russia is supporting that. Russia's foot is in the back door of Babylon, aka America. So it's all tied together. All of this is. It says, meanwhile, the other nations once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nation the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens, obligated to defend themselves against the world minority of the revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deitist spirits will from the moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universe manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. The manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Whoa. Right? They think they're going to accomplish this, but the Lord's going to smack that plate right out their face. Right? They're going to try to establish their enterprise, man, but the Lord's going to disappoint them. They will fill their bellies, but the Lord they will attempt to fill their bellies, but the Lord's going to slap that plate. But anyways, I pray this lesson was edifying. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rukakwadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the whole like preaching His word in truth and sincerity. To your ribs, to your sisters out there, learning in silence and staying in order. I say to you all, Shalom.